Bowed by the weight of centuries, he leans upon his hoe and gazes on the ground. The emptiness of ages in his face, and on his back the burden of the world. Who made him dead to rapture and despair, a thing that grieves not and that never hopes, stolid and stunned, a brother to the ox. Who loosened and let down this brutal jaw? Whose was the hand that slanted back this brow? Whose breath blew out the light within this brain? Is this the thing the Lord God made and gave to have dominion over sea and land? To trace the stars and search the heavens for power? To feel the passion of eternity? Is this the dream he dreamed, who shaped the suns and marked their ways upon the ancient deep? Down all the stretch of hell to its last gulf, there is no shape more terrible than this, more tongued with censure of the world's blind greed, more filled with the signs and portents for the soul, more fraught with danger to the universe. What gulfs between him and the seraphim? Slave of the wheel of labor, what to him are Plato and the swing of Pleiades? What the long reaches of the peaks of song, the rift of dawn, the reddening of the rose? Through this dread shape the suffering ages look. Time's tragedy is in that aching stoop. Through this dread shape, humanity betrayed, plundered, profaned, and disinherited, cries protest to the judges of the world, a protest that is also prophecy. O masters, lords and rulers in all lands, is this the handiwork you give to God? This monstrous thing distorted and soul-quenched? How will you ever straighten up this shape? Touch it again with immortality. Give back the upward looking and the light. Rebuild in it the music and the dream. Make right the immemorial infamies, perfidious wrongs, immedicable woes. O masters, lords and rulers in all lands, how will the future reckon with this man? How answer his brute question in that hour when whirlwinds of rebellion shake the world? How will it be with kingdoms and with kings, with those who shaped him to the thing he is, when this dumb terror shall reply to God after the silence of the centuries? Edwin Markham's poem, The Man with the Hoe, is not about poverty or injustice, at least not the way we usually mean it. Those are merely visible economic conditions. What the poem is actually about is something quieter and more disturbing. What happens when a human being lives so long inside necessity that necessity becomes his nature? The poem opens with Genesis, not as comfort, but to expose an essential tension. God made man in his own image. Everything that follows feels like an argument with that line. We are shown a man leaning on a hoe, gazing at the ground, but almost immediately we are told that he is bowed, not by a hard day's work, not even by a hard life, but by the weight of centuries, the emptiness of ages, and the burden of the world. Markham here is not describing fatigue. He's describing disfigurement. The central image of the poem is his body, and more precisely, the angle of his body. The poem keeps returning to this geometry of downwardness as though the spine itself has become a historical document. That aching stoop, this dread shape, this monstrous thing distorted and soul-quenched. The human form has become an archive of civilization that has left its mark, not solely on cathedrals or libraries, but on the shape of a spine. What's most disturbing is not how the laborer suffers, but how little he responds. Dead to rapture and despair, a thing that grieves not and that never hopes. So not only has joy been taken from him, but even sorrow. His inner life has been flattened and replaced with something purely functional, and that's a different kind of devastation. Not pain, but numbness. Not anguish, but the slow disappearance of the capacity to feel it all. The man is there, stooped, with his tool, which at first almost seems like an inconsequential detail in the text. But the hoe represents a duty, a tangible anchor that gives shape and meaning to his life. Perhaps even a coping mechanism, used whenever his inner life becomes disquieted. And that's when the poem begins to search for accountability. It asks, who made him dead to rapture and despair? Whose breath blew out the light within the brain? These questions are not rhetorical in tone. They sound genuinely bewildered, as though the poem itself cannot quite believe what it is seeing. The claim is not that the man has been injured, but that his humanity has been reorganized. He has not been merely disfigured, he has been transformed. And this transformation has robbed him of transcendence. What gulfs between him and the seraphim? What to him are Plato and the swing of the Pleiades? What the long reaches of the peaks of song, the rift of dawn, the reddening of the rose? Not because transcendent beauty and truth no longer exist, but because he can no longer perceive them. The heavens still shine, but his survival demands his attention. He gazes at the ground. There is no margin for wonder. And so the poem turns back to Genesis and asks the question directly. Is this the thing the Lord God made? Is this the dream that God dreamed who shaped the suns? The image of God is still there, but it's buried beneath centuries of necessity. The poem's no longer looking at a worker, it's looking at a contradiction. And that's when Markham addresses the masters with this question. Is this the handiwork you give to God? The scene shifts from mere social observation to theological reckoning. The issue's no longer injustice in general. It is accountability before a transcendent standard. Civilization itself becomes an offering, and the question is not whether it functions, but whether it is good. And here is where C.S. Lewis sharpens the critique. In The Weight of Glory, which I'll link to below, he writes, "There are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. Nations, cultures, arts, and civilizations, these are mortal." And the inversion is devastating. What lasts is not the system. What survives history is not the civilization that built the wheel of time, but the human being bent beneath it. Lewis explains, it is immortals whom we joke with, work with, marry, snub, and exploit. The dullest, most uninteresting person you can talk to may one day be a creature which, if you saw it now, you would be strongly tempted to worship. And that is the true scale of the poem's horror. The being designed for glory has been trained for survival by necessity. The creature meant to outlast worlds has been compressed into mere continuation. The eternal has been taught to live as though his worth were measured only in output. This poem advocates on behalf of man, pleading his case to the masters and the lords. How will you restore this man? How will you straighten his body? How will you rekindle the light? How will you return the upward gaze, rebuild the music and the dream, make right the wrongs that have shaped him? These questions are not asking how to repair a damaged individual or even provide restitution. Each question names aspects of personhood that no social structure has the right to touch for ill or good. The body, the light, the gaze, the dream. Because for Markham, they belong to the realm of meaning, the image of God. The problem is not that the man is broken. The problem is that a civilization organized entirely around productivity is disordered. The final judgment is not delivered on the man with the hoe, it is delivered through him. He becomes the evidence. He is what we have made. So the poem ends with the image of this dumb terror, bent, catching his breath, readying himself to address his creator. After the silence of the centuries, the fear is not that he will accuse, the fear is that he will finally tell the truth. That a life without wonder does not merely exhaust the body, it reshapes the soul. And so, ironically, the poem is not really about this man at all. It's about us. The man with the hoe is not only a figure in Millet's painting, he is a mirror. He is what a human being becomes when duty replaces meaning, when survival becomes the horizon of the soul, when the capacity for transcendence is slowly educated out of existence. And in that sense, Markham is not simply defending a laborer from the past. He is defending the part of us that still remembers the stars, the part that knows we were made to look up, to attend, to respond. And the poem leaves us there, not with an answer, not with a program, but with a single unsettling question addressed to every age, including our own. Where is your gaze?